the first and most important rule is just to slow down and really allow yourself to pay attention to what's going on in your body and to essentially identify if any of the five emotions are coming up for you: joy, fear, anger, sadness, and shame. And to help you all, I'm going to model this with the first card, and I'm going to go ahead and answer the first card, which is a blue card to kick us off. Start the clock. So the first question is, who is someone from your childhood who shaped who you are today and why? And there are a lot of people who shaped who I am today and why. And it's just been so beautiful actually getting notes from people who've seen Actually Curious shout it out. One of my mentors who works in advertising, and I remember when I didn't, my parents didn't have like a white collar job in that way, that I would tell people that my mentor works in advertising when they would question, my background in some of the spaces that I was in. But today I'm going to say my brothers, Christopher, aka Dean. It's a Jamaican thing. Jamaicans have like a birth name and a nickname. So Christopher, aka Dean, and Audley, aka Darren. I'm the Yankee, they call me, so I don't have two names. And they were bigger than me. They were both over 6 feet. They had bigger personalities. And I'm kind of like a medium guy with a medium personality as a result of like being in their reflection. But, I love them and I channel them in my work, and I'm just really grateful to share a little bit of myself with everyone else and to use the inspiration that they've given to do so. Who's up? So yeah, we're gonna treat this like popcorn style. We've got probably I don't know, hopefully I didn't take too much time, but we're gonna spend, so you just talk, someone, we have 5 minutes left.
I'll go.
All right, Yasmine, let's hear it.
Sure. So I'd say my dad. For me, I think that while so many people can often look at their parents and judge their experiences really harshly, I'd like to say to myself that my father and his experiences have been so much of the driving force for me to seek out healing. And so I think that I have in that so much love, even when I think of the most difficult things that have happened, because I know that his experiences and how they influence my childhood are, so much ingrained into the work that I do. So my dad.
Thanks for sharing, Yasmine. That's special. So I don't know, do we have to take people off mute, or can people unmute themselves?
I can share. I just tested your question, and we can turn ourselves off mute. I'm Ryan, and
welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. Thanks. It's great to be here. I was looking at my list of 5 feelings too, and I, the feeling that came up for me was sadness. I think for a couple of reasons. My person is also my father, and not sadness because my childhood was a negative experience, but sadness because in reflecting on some of the things that I learned from him, they're not, they're like maladjusted behaviors. Like I've just come to realize as an adult. So things like keeping secrets, not talking about my feelings, deriving a lot of satisfaction from work and from a lot of my worth, my sense of worth from my work. But also some really amazing lessons that I've taken into adulthood, like how important family is, about being, impeccable with your word, So, I think that, so I think the sadness for me is just, um, um, one, that I lost my dad about 3 years ago. And, sort of before I did some of this work around, um, around what I have taken from him, and um, don't have the opportunity now to share some of these things with him.
Ryan, thank you for that bravery. Thank you for stepping up and sharing your story. I'm sorry for your loss. I also want to say thank you.
People want. Oh.
I want to also just thank you real quick for bringing it back to the rules, which I forgot. I was feeling joy. So, hey, Ruby, welcome back.
Hi.
Hey. So we have about 3 more minutes on this question. Maybe we can try and get 2 more people on this blue level. And so just share how's this question make you feel, and who's that person?
I circled the feeling, which is joy. I had an awesome caretaker, babysitter in my life. I was part of a big family of 5 in big ages, so I was with her a lot, and she was fun, empathy, gratitude, and she was an independent woman at a time when she was one of the first women to get divorced in Missouri in the 40s from her abusive husband, and just kind of being that role model for me, like, you don't have to take abuse from people. You don't have to do what society tells you to do. Like, you can be your own independent spirit and take care of yourself. And she didn't have a mom growing up, but she was like the best mom to me. So it's a reminder that, like, even if you didn't get something in your childhood, you can heal that by being that thing that you missed out on in your childhood. Like, she didn't have a mom after the age of 2, and she was the best mother to me and eventually to her stepchildren. So a lot of joy when I think about her, and gratitude.
Thank you, Ruby. All right, if anyone's got a quick share, we can squeeze one more in before we go up a level.
I want to go.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay. Hi, Michael.
Hey,
congratulations again on your time. It's still in my very empty but filled with love. Oh wow! I guess you can see us. My very empty but full of love apartment. Yay! And my commitment to spreading I'm the key evangelist of Actually Curious. So I actually physically have somebody else watching the empathy session with me. Say hey, Keith. So, hi, everybody. Woo! So I'm going to talk about my father. I would not be who I am in terms, if it wasn't for my father, in terms of being like this activist and, I guess in my head revolutionary, but also like, I think most importantly, like a free thinker that like questions society and the motives of humanity and the motives of people in power. That's all that. Like, he literally, raised me on this like curriculum of protest music. Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, Nina Simone, Gil Scott-Heron, Fela, James Brown, Peter Tosh interviews. So I'm like 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, with a little afro, hand in the air, so my fist in the air. So when I think of my daddy, I think like immense joy, like tears of joy. Like, I could literally cry right now. Like, that man is like everything. And he's written books, and he's gotten Teacher of the Year awards for like other children. But daddy is daddy. I love that man.
Well, thank you, Tanene, and thank you for joining us again, and thank you for sharing where that rebel comes from. All right, so we're taking it up a level.
He's Trinidadian. I forgot to mention he's from Trinidad.
Trini boo boo. All right, so we're taking it up to a level green. As we go up to this next level, I want to just throw out there that the theme of this event is creating safe spaces for the Black community. I'm going to try a thing here. I'd like to really invite that we, for the first few minutes of this round, offer the space to people of color, who, if you feel compelled, no pressure, but Black and Latinx or otherwise identifying, I would love to give you the stage first, and ask the community to do that as well. So the question is there a difference between inclusion and belonging?
I'm happy to go. Hi. Hello. Hi. Thank you so much for providing us this space. So I'm Bahia. I am Moroccan, and my first experience in the US was 3 years ago. And coming from Morocco, where community is the key, is like the pillar of all society, but hearing in the opposite that America was a place of inclusion, the American dream, etc. So basically, I just put all my saving in one nut and came here. And to be honest, I never felt so alone in my life than in this place, because it's true, I was included in those places that's maybe like amazing, etc. But I always felt, I'm sorry to say that very honestly, but a kind of superficiality of, if you even say thanks, you're expecting something in return, like you're helping me with the food, and it was like this feeling of you're included because of politeness, or because you have this brand supporting you or whatsoever, but you don't belong, because it was this feeling of you are not accepted as you are. I was not accepted for being a woman. I was not accepted for being Muslim. I was not accepted for being from a lower background, from a poor background. So the fact of saying, yeah, I grew up in a house without access to electricity, without access to potable water, and you're very nice to invite me to French champagne, and that doesn't make me feel included, because at the end of the day, you're including me at the table, but I don't belong, and you don't feel me belonging, because the way that I can give you back to your amazing caviar for me is a thank you, and helping you to clean the dishes. Those people didn't clean the dishes, but anyways, I don't want to take more time, but just say that I am grateful for having this place with all of you, because it's a place of true belonging. Doesn't matter if I'm African or Moroccan, whatsoever, if you're Black. I always say I'm not Black, my skin is not Black, but my heart it is, because I go through the same experience. So thank you for providing this space, and thank you all for sharing.
I'd like to go off the heels of that. I totally identify with that, and that's also part of the reason as to why I'm even in Florida right now. I needed to leave New York City to try to understand, how did the city that I thought was a place that I belonged, how did it become this superficial place? And I'm only now realizing that stepping into this space of, wanting to be better, of wanting to heal myself, that the people who I thought were there to help me have only been wanting something in return. And so they've been taking it from me in a lot of different ways. And I'm the type of person where I give to give, because it will come back. And it always does. Even this opportunity right now is me getting it back in like tenfold. So I think, inclusion is not genuine and authentic. And I think belonging is really something that has to do with integrity. And I feel like there's a misunderstanding or a framing of what integrity should be and how it should be allocated into the world. I think not enough people understand the same line that belonging and integrity kind of are on. So I'm kind of going through my own journey with this as well. And I find, again, that helping myself connect to my body, heal myself from traumas, and taking the opportunity to communicate with people and have very difficult conversations and building myself up to be a better person helps me belong with me all the time, always. And then which helps, spill out to the people who really are authentic and, who actually believe in the idea of community because, yeah, I guess the individual nature that I grew up in, or that is, the United States, it's actually not conducive to anything that we all want. I've realized it's not conducive at all. Like the American dream, you work hard, you go get it, you go do it. It's not helped anything really. It's all just kind of kept people further away from each other because of that individuated sentiment in nature. And I feel like belonging is so much more accepting. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It begins with the E. I can't think of it right now, but it's more encompassing than it is with, being alone. And that's my thoughts.
So I'd like to share. I definitely think that
Okay, one more this round, and then we'll go up. Who we got?
I'll go.
No, sorry, I heard someone was sharing.
That was me.
Oh, sorry. My bad. There's so many boxes. I turned off of this mode. Thank you, Yasmine.
No worries. So I definitely think that there are differences. I think even in terms of like the word inclusion, right? That there's so much, even in terms of spaces that are inclusive, spaces that, people feel safe and comfortable in versus belonging, of communities that make you feel, good, that are, ultimately places where you have been accepted and that you feel accepted, you feel seen. There's definitely a difference for me, especially even as it relates to wellness, right? Like there are, walking into spaces that are inclusive, not always even in that feeling comfortable. And so with that, there are feelings of sadness, but then joy of belonging in spaces and, walking into rooms where immediately I am more comfortable to speak on the fullness of my experiences and know that there is real safety that relies in those spaces. So those are the two differences for me.
Thank you, Yasmine. That was, I think, an amazing close and a good transition to our next question. And I'll just do that with a personal share, which kind of bridges the two things that you were saying for me, which is one thing that I'm grateful to have awareness of is how much was the work I needed to do within myself to feel like I belonged everywhere. To unprogram any narratives I had in my head or experiences that I didn't have the maturity or the confidence or the guidance or to know that does not define me, to shatter those narratives and to show up loving myself everywhere. And I think, for my part, I'm always self-critical, that had an influence on how I might have shown up and projected when I went into wellness spaces. But my biggest thing that I ask everyone is to, have an open mind, to hear people's stories and just accept it for what they're sharing, because they wouldn't be sharing it in a safe space if it wasn't real for them. And then let it marinate versus trying to project, anything you might have. And so our next question, I think, is important for me, and I'll just answer it on our way in. Have you ever experienced discrimination? How did you feel in that moment? Right now, my feeling is calm. And anger. Yeah. I've experienced discrimination. Right now, I can't really think of a particular story that I want to tell. It's just a feeling that I'm familiar with. And because I've experienced enough, I've developed a resilience to kind of like slow down and almost like really prepare. And there's a mixture of like anger and preparedness. That's how I feel when I'm in a moment where I feel discriminated against. Now I'm able to do that. All right. Want to show the question one more time? Okay. Damaris, you up?
I am up. My camera is off, but hopefully you guys can hear me. For me, I think this question of discrimination kind of piggybacks off of the question prior about the difference between inclusion and belonging. I think for me as an African American woman mixed with Puerto Rican, I could be viewed as kind of like the more acceptable Black person, you know, the Black person that white people may feel more comfortable around in a room because I'm the light skinned person. I'm the person with the bubbly personality. I'm the person who might be well spoken. And so for me, kind of identifying discrimination sometimes is a little hard. You know, I look back at my experiences when I used to live in New York as well. And I used to work in publishing and public relations. And that field and that industry is so dominated by predominantly white women. And coming from different backgrounds than these other, you know, white girls who, you know, who I worked parallel to, who, you know, could they could be an intern at Glamour magazine for 3 years, getting paid $50 a month. And they could put in that time and that dedication so that when a position became available, they would be first up. But me coming from a different background, I can't live off of $50 a month. Like I've got to work. So I actually had to turn down an internship at Teen Vogue because I what was I going to do? How was I going to pay my bills if I took the time to take this opportunity that was presented to me? So I think sometimes discrimination is not so blatant and in your face, but it's things like that. It's not having the same opportunity, not being able to, you know, take a $50 a month internship in something in a field that I was really, really passionate about, but had to make a difficult decision to say and email Eva Chen and say, I cannot take this position right now. And so for me, the feeling behind that, looking back at it, is anger. But I think right now there's growth in that, and just being able to look back at it and recognize that, you know, that was a form of discrimination. But how can we turn those things around?
I can so relate. You know, it's like you don't even know that you're being discriminated against when you're in a system and you know, the momentum's against you early on, and you can of course look back on that and be like, you know, that shouldn't have been the case. You should have had the opportunity to get your foot in the door. I can empathize. All right, Can we get two more in? One more in on this round, and then we're gonna go up to the highest round, the T.
I'll go.
Sorry, you can go.
Oh no, someone else. Go. You can go.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. Michael has had enough of me.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for allowing some space for new guests. Check it out.
So the first thing, I'm half Black, but I don't really look half Black. I look more Hispanic. And so the first thing that came to mind in discrimination was, I think I was about 10 or 11 when it really hit me. And all my cousins are also half Black, half white. And we were just hanging out and had a conversation, and they said, well, you don't look Black, so you don't really count. And I think that was really a struggle for me all throughout my life. Like, well, I don't really look Black, so where does that put me on the scale? You know, or where does that put me in being a part of the Black community? You know what I mean? And I think that was the first time it really hit me. Like, well, I don't look like you, but I am you. So where do I fit in? Where do I belong? And part of that community. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Alexa, thank you so much for sharing that. You know, black is not one shade. Black's not one story or one origin you know, and I'm sure there's the challenge of wanting to honor your Puerto Rican side equally as well and find acceptance there. So I really appreciate you sharing your perspective with the community. All right, we're going into the final question. We're going to spend about, what can we do here, 5 minutes here, and then we're going to go into an open forum. So the final question is, what is guaranteed to bring you happiness? Let's explore that together. Carol, you want to go now? You want to lead us off? You
sure
look like you
can.
were thinking. I caught you off guard.
So not so much thinking. I have my little kitty on my lap right now, and she just turned around to give me her belly, so I was scratching it. I'm glad that you thought that I was deep in thought. I'm glad that everyone on my Zoom calls
That sounds
thinks I'm
like
deep in thought.
happiness if I've ever heard it. Belly
So
rub.
if we're going to link it to the question, I would say that, what was the question again? Where do you find your true happiness?
Lost in a belly rub. That's my answer.
What is guaranteed to bring you happiness? Thank you. I would have to say that, connecting it to right now, because I was just thinking how thankful I am to have this baby girl give me her tummy. What guarantees me happiness is those small, simple moments that make life bearable. Like when you are in the middle of, of your hustle or just getting stuff done, and especially this year now more than ever, that I feel that we are in that 6-month slump, 7-month slump, 8-month slump, whatever month slump that we're in. I feel that just having those moments when you are reminded of what brings you joy, even if it's like a good cup of coffee, or feeling that first brisk breeze right now with the weather getting chillier, or your pet giving, baby girl, your pet just, she is loving the belly rubs and she just wants to keep it going. Or sharing a laugh with a friend on Zoom. I think the small things right now are what are guaranteeing my happiness.
You guys waiting for permission? You know how it works. Let's hop on up.
I'll go next.
You want to introduce yourself and let us know how this question makes you feel, and go on into the answer.
Yeah. So my name's Kayla. I'm new here.
Hey, Kayla. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thanks for hosting this loving space. But I think for me, with this question, the first thing that came up was a little anxiety, but maybe a little fear. Just because I'm just now starting this healing journey. I've kind of been on it for the last year or so, coming out of an abusive relationship, and I'm just beginning therapy. But when I think about the question, it really just brings me back to finding space within my body and owning my body and owning my own existence, and starting there to actually create happiness from a place within myself and not seeking it outside of myself. And just learning that I think finding moments of expressing, finding moments of community, finding moments where I can connect with someone else, and it's in a space of reciprocity and not this give and take, or I'm being drained, and just having that awareness brings me the most happiness, or can guarantee me the most happiness. And that's what I'm finding in my journey.
I love that. Oh man, we got to get one more. I want to hear one more.
Hi, Mike. It's Tanisha.
Hey, Tanisha Wood.
Hey, everyone.
Tanisha Wood, the guest host on next week's empathy workout.
Really
Welcome.
Looking forward to that. Thank you. So in this moment, I'm feeling joy, and I was thinking about the question, and what instantly popped into my mind was my younger brother. We're about 10 years apart, and we're really close. But then as I was digging it within that, I'm like, well, it's not your brother. It's the relationship that you guys have. And it's one of understanding and complete empathy all the time. and really always assuming the best. You know, I think that's what it comes down to when you are in a space where you are understood. Your best is always what is seen first, and not judgments about what might be your worst. And so I guess to actually answer the question, what really brings me that joy is being understood.
Woo! Amazing. We did not plan that at all. We definitely did not, but it almost could be, because I really, that's what this is about. Thank you for sharing that, Tanisha.